Fountains and gardens and balustrades across all down the river. These balconies you'll see. There's all those French influences. So as you're going through the city, kind of keep that in mind. Now Chicago is set with the task of rebuilding the city. Can't use wood anymore, it's illegal. The whole city just burnt down, they need to be another wood after the Chicago fire. And when you build with brick, and the taller the building gets, the wider the base needs to be to support it, which means you can't really have tall buildings. There's going to be no floor space at the bottom of the building. So the man by the name of William LeBaron comes up with the idea of the eternal frame, or steel structure. Because you can actually support a building from the inside out. And hang the walls on this internal frame like curtains or picture frames. Now his colleague, Louis Sullivan, takes this one step further. Said no one has ever designed vertically before, they've only designed horizontally. I will start thinking vertically. And that's how the skyscraper is born right here in Chicago. Now, we're going to pass on Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive is was dedicated by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It's one of the first times he spoke of foreign policy in 1934. If you ever see an old photo of Lakeshore Drive, you'll notice it has two right angles in it. Actually, had right angles in a highway. Imagine why they smoothed it out. But there are pretty cool pictures to see. I will say with Louis Sullivan, also the inventor of the skyscraper, he was a mentor of Frank Lloyd Wright. A lot of people know Frank Lloyd Wright. But if you look at their work side by side, you'll see a lot of striking similarities within their work. It's pretty amazing. Louis Sullivan doesn't really get the credit that he probably necessarily deserves. Now, I'm going to get a chance to take in the view. We're going to pass on our Lakeshore Drive, and as we come out, I know the first time I saw the buildings from the river, I was pretty taken back. So this is a great photo op for you. Enjoy the kings and queens of Chicago, all the great skyscrapers. Now our first building we're going to talk about is on the left-hand side. This is the Aon Center. This is the kind of gray and whitish building, kind of vertical lines. Tallest amongst this clump of buildings. It's also known as Big Stand. One that was built for the Indiana Standard Oil Company in 1973. Now the Indiana Standard Oil Company thought it would be a tremendous idea to put Carrara marble on the side of this building. Now Carrara marble is beautiful. Michelangelo usually created his David. They put 43,000 sheets of the stuff. Problem is, it doesn't do very well in Chicago weather. We had it crumble and break. So they had to took all those pieces down. They put North Carolina granite up. It was an $80 million mistake over half a budget. Third tallest building in Chicago. Now you're going to see a building that's being constructed and a triangle building next to it. If you look past it, I want you to see a building that has undulating balconies. That is Aqua, tallest building in the world, designed by Rome in 2010. Jeannie Kane from Studio Gang here in Chicago. Now it gets its name Aqua from those undulating balconies. It's going to have a wave-like effect to it. Well, those balconies also give you views of all the condos that are located there, and they also stop birds from flying on the side of the building, which is pretty nice. They just put the Radisson Blue Hotel within that. So you have to stay there and see those undulating balconies. Now, on our tour, we're going to talk about a couple different types of architecture. We'll talk about Art Deco, 1920s, early 30s. We'll talk about modernism, like kind of boxiness and modernism. We'll also talk about postmodernism, kind of getting away from that streamlined design and modernism, like anthem to it. My goal by the end of the tour is to give you kind of tools to be able to pick out certain styles of architecture. You'll see things that repeat themselves, and hopefully you'll see maybe a postmodern building and say, well, this is postmodern because it needs three things. Now, an example of the postmodern building is going to be on your right-hand side. This is the NBC Tower from Adrian Smith, Skidmore, Owens & Merrill. This particular building, notice the vertical lines. You look 3/4 of the way up, you'll see upside-down L's. Those are flying buttresses. Now, those are not bleakering like they might be in old Gothic cathedral, but they serve a very specific purpose. They give tribute to the Tribune building, as we'll see just a little bit. A lot of nationally syndicated talk shows that are from there, including Jerry Springer. So you got something that's beautiful on the inside, as it is out. Now on your right hand side, you'll see the University of Chicago Bleacher Center. It's the Graduate School of Business. This is the one that has the kind of glass atrium on the outside of it. Now, if you notice the west side, the back side of the building, you'll see there are no windows. That's because that's where all the classrooms are located. The architects felt like maybe students would be able to learn if they had windows in their classrooms. I'm sure you ask the students that go to school there, the verdict's probably still out on that venture. But as the University of Chicago Bleacher Center. Now on your right, you'll see the flying buttresses of the Tribune Tower. 1925, they were contest for most beautiful office building in the world, and Howells and Hood win with this neo-Gothic design. They beat out 262 other applicants for a $50,000 prize. Now, if you stand on ground level, you can actually see pieces of all the famous buildings built into this building, like the Taj Mahal, the White House, even Moon Rock built into it. And the editor-in-chief in 1925 was Colonel McCormick. Colonel McCormick had a secret passageway built into his office, so he could get a quick getaway through a bookcase if need be. Why he would need a secret passageway, I have absolutely no idea. But he had one built in just in case. He was a bit of a eccentric fellow. Now on your right hand side, you'll see the Wrigley building. Todos art style hints in Spanish Chicago were built in 2 parts in the 1920s. Now there are 250,000 pieces of fire terracotta on the outside of this building. Now terracotta naturally gleams without having to be cleaned, that's why it has that white finish. They light it up across Michigan Avenue, across the street, gives it ode to the White City at night. Now this is one of Chicago's newest landmarks. Got landmark status 2 weeks ago. Now from 2 iconic buildings to a man that thinks he's an icon, I give you the Trump Tower. A modern building from Skidmore, Rowley, Merrill, the architects, and one Mr. Donald Trump. Now I want you to notice the heights of the setbacks in this particular building. It matches the heights of neighboring buildings. Also, you see how the building bends with the river? And the glass, it's reflective of the river and the buildings around it. These are all characteristics of post-modern buildings. They fit really well in their surroundings. They're influenced by the surroundings. Second tallest building in Chicago, and I have to admit, it's a pretty cool looking one. Now next to the Trump Tower, you see a very tall black boxy building in your right hand side. That is the IBM building from an architect named Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. Now, Mies van der Rohe comes from the famous Bauhaus in Berlin. He fled the Nazis in the early 30s, comes to Chicago. This is his tallest and last offering. Now, he was considered one of the pioneers of modernism, and what I want you to notice about this building is nothing more than the internal frame, the skeleton, the scheme, the curtain wall, very streamlined in its design, no decoration whatsoever. It's really celebrating the function of the building. Now, Mies van der Rohe's famous quote is, "Less is more." Minimalism, and you see that within his work. Really functioning. Now the IBM building had thermal walls built into it to house the giant computers that they put into it. So they had to take off some of the heat with the computers. They had thermal walls. Now on your right side you'll see a student of Mies van der Rohe, Bertrand Goldberg, or his Marina City or Corn Cop Towers, as they're affectionately called here. Now, Bertrand Goldberg knew design with nature in mind. He said there are no absolute straight lines in nature. I will revolt against a straight line. So he gives you a curvilinear design. Now this is a city within a city. Park your boat, park your car, go to a restaurant, go shop, go see a movie in what now is the House of Blues, and then retire upstairs to your condo. Truly a shut-in's paradise. Everything you could possibly want, right where you live. And the best time of day to go by it is right now, because you get to smell the grill of Dick's Last Resort. Pretty awesome. Now if you look off in the distance on the right hand side, you'll see a red brick building. This is the Reed Murdoch Center, and I'm ashamed to admit I have been there. You see, it's the former home of the Chicago Traffic Court. Have you been there, sir? You're lucky, I have. Now, that clock tower on the top is used for 2 purposes. One, it hides the water tower that was located in the building, but it was used by workers in the early 1900s to get to work on time. No more excuse they can't afford a pocket watch. Clocks on the side of the building. Now this is 1913, Romanesque Revival, where if you look straight up, you're going to see archway windows. That's that Romanesque Revival, that's the key to it. Also, if you look 3/4 of the way, you'll see what look like grains of wheat that are built into the brick. That's the Prairie School. And they kind of light them up at night to accent them. As you're looking at the building, I want you to notice that it is asymmetrical. And it didn't always sit this way. You see there are more parts to the backside than the front. Well, they widened LaSalle Street 10 years after they built the building, and they lopped off 20 feet of the building to do it, making it asymmetrical. This is one of those old warehouses that sat down here on the river. Now another old river warehouse is coming up on the right-hand side. You'll see an old coffee warehouse. It used to smell like coffee down here. This is a building that says the Chicago School on it. It also has a red facade to it. This is a great example of the Chicago School of Architecture, the thought process of Chicago architecture. This building, I want you to notice, has three parts to it: a base, a shaft, and a capital. It's almost like three parts of a story: beginning, middle, and an end. Also, you notice how wide the windows are. Remember, they're not using the walls to support the building anymore. They're using internal frames, so they can have much wider windows. So lets more sunlight in, more floor space, thinner walls on the inside. They really utilize that frame. That's how we got into working with bay windows and have that kind of look to it.